We have a client that's like, we need to go live in 6 months. And you're like, you can do whatever you want. I mean, you can turn it on in 2 months if you want to. It's certainly not going to be functional. Yeah, like you can run a marathon in 2 weeks if you want to. Not sure if you're going to make it across the finish line alive, but good luck to you. It doesn't mean you cannot do it. It means now they want to be more focused on being live on these systems, even if they do it poorly. Like it doesn't matter the quality of the system. It matters how fast you get there. And a lot of times your executives are bonused on go lives as well. So a lot of times your consultants are bonused on go lives. And that's just kind of how the system works. All right. Sales sells the customer the Rolls-Royce product. Delivery team gets a Honda budget. Yeah, I think Honda is a nice way to say it, right? Especially with those bigger consultancies. They may have the name brand, but just remember that you are not Target. Maybe you are, right? I mean, ask Target how their S4HANA launch went in Canada. Not well, right? I was speaking at a conference the other day, and one of the questions I got was, why isn't there Target in Canada? Is it because of SAP? I'm like, well, I'm not going to say it's not because of SAP, but I think those pieces are really critical to being understood in the sales process. Who's my delivery team? They may be like, well, we don't assign resources until the contract's signed. That's fair. But they have a head of delivery, right? They have someone who you can talk to about their approach, right? What's my escalation path? What if I need you today, right? We had a client that went live on S4HANA and EY was nowhere to be found. Their entire payroll, again, crashed. EY, absolutely nowhere to be found. Those people you need to be able to get a hold of them, and they need to be local, right? They need to be onshore employees that are available to you at any point. And I can't believe, no one was there for their go live. That's just crazy work in general. And so what time did I start this live, you guys? Let's see. I can never tell because I just have so much fun talking to you. I'm like, do I have 5 minutes left or do I have 35? Unfortunately, I only have 5, and then I have to go back to my day job. But this has been such a good conversation. And I mean, so in those 30-day live post support contracts, they absolutely have those, but I think they're not defined enough, right? A lot of times that's just the name of the agreement, but it's not defined like you will be here during the go live. You will be, all of these different things. We will have, a meeting every day, a scrum every day to go through blah, 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 blah. And that's just not something that we see, right? Those contracts are so ceremonial based. And unfortunately, that's why a lot of these companies get in trouble. We can look at the Zimmer Biomed example that I did a video on when it comes to Deloitte. Will they get their money back from Deloitte? It's hard to say because they signed an agreement that said, the business is responsible for this implementation, not Deloitte, right? And I have no idea if they'll get their money back, right? Deloitte made a motion to dismiss the case in November of 2025, and that's millions of dollars that they potentially lost because they signed an agreement that was quote unquote a standard agreement, and it didn't go into the specifics, or they didn't read the specifics, or they aren't, in the software business, so they're not really focused on what sort of pitfalls could be in these documents. But those things are going to be the Bible, especially when you go on to litigation, which hopefully never happens to you, right? But when it does, that's when it got real ugly, especially in the private sector like Zimmer, because they've already tried to negotiate that, right? Their lawyers have already tried mediation. And typically in those really bad ones, then you get slapped with an NDA. You get okay, I'll give you your money back if you just never talk about this again. And that's why I have this channel, right? That's why it's so important to talk about these types of things so that they can be held accountable for their actions, right? Agreements are negotiable. They are always negotiable, right? That is telling you who you're working with